Thank you and good evening. Welcome to the Easthampton Public School Committee meeting for April 10th, 2012. We'll begin with announcements. The first announcement that I'd like to make is just remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded for transcription purposes and by the Easthampton Public Access Cable. Superintendent Falsey, would you take us through the other announcements, please?
I'd be happy to. The next school committee meetings are April 24th, May 8th, May 22nd, and June 12th. There's no school April 16th through April 20th due to Patriots' Day and spring break. There's a half day of school on Monday, May 7th, due to teacher professional development. Junior-senior prom is scheduled for Friday, May 18th at the Hotel Northampton. There's no school on Monday, May 28th, due to Memorial Day holiday. Senior outing is scheduled for Monday, June 4th. Easthampton High School Class Night Awards is scheduled for Tuesday, June 5th. Easthampton High School Senior Harbor Cruise is scheduled for Thursday, June 7th. And Easthampton High School graduation is scheduled for Friday, June 8th.
Terrific. Ryan, can you tell, how do we get on that cruise trip? How does
I
that
can try
work?
to sneak you on if you want.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you,
No adults
do you,
allowed.
Yeah, it doesn't work, Peter. I already tried. I
you have
can't
a-
even go
you
to
have-
France.
You have a child vetoing that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
now I would think that they're,
I don't
don't
think
we
they're
have to
gonna let us.
approve this? Could we exercise a little, all right, I guess that's not how it works.
I get to sign the warrants, maybe I could hold it up that way.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, it sounds like a great, I mean, imagine a night like tonight, it would be terrific. I'm sorry, back to the serious business of the day. I hope you guys have a great time. You're going, I presume?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so you'll report, no.
Yeah. What?
Probably won't.
What happens on the boat stays
Yeah, I'll
on the
be,
boat.
yeah.
These parents are making me more interested in the boat trip than I was just based on the original description. Okay.
Maybe next year, Peter.
Do we have some correspondence? We do not this week. There was a brief meeting that we can talk about when we get down to Roman numeral 3, letter C, but we do have gifts. Mayor Tosek, would you do us the privilege of, well,
I'd be happy to.
someone needs to make a,
I move that we accept the following gifts with appreciation. From the Easthampton Community Access Television for a monetary donation of $135.50. It's a portion of DVD sales that went back to Maple Street School. From Easthampton Savings Bank for $250 donation to the Art Enrichment Program at Maple School. Whitebrook Middle School Hat Day fundraiser for $71 in donations received to help raise money for the We the People trip for the EHS students. Isn't that nice? $50 donations for the dog show being held at EHS from Flurry Lumber Company, Autumn Properties, A to Z Storage, Northampton Veterinary Clinic, Big E Supermarket, Easthampton Home and School Association, Dr. Shelley Wilton, Thomas M. Cleary, DMD, and Easthampton Savings Bank. And the following donations in addition for the EHS We the People trip: $25 from Justin Cobb, $30 from Julie Bloom, $40 from William and Susan Cody, $50 from Silver Spoon Restaurant, $50 from Timothy and Don Young, $100 from Donna Ellis Flores, $100 from Claire A. Culver, $200 from Fontaine Brothers Incorporated, that's the contractor for the new school, $300 from Lathrop Community Residents Association, and $500 from the Hampshire County Bar Association. Thank you very much.
Second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, just a clarification, just want to be sure that we have the spelling correct. Thomas M.
Cleary.
Cleary, right? I think we dropped the letter there, so we'll catch that in the minutes. And yeah, I agree, Mike. I think it's further evidence, all of these gifts and the gifts that we get to record and applaud and express our gratitude each week show the generosity of the community. It's awesome. We now turn to the time for public speak. Is there anyone here this evening who would like to speak on a matter that's not already scheduled, where you're not already scheduled to speak here? Okay. You guys are scheduled to speak later, right? Yes? Yes. Okay. I just wanted to be sure that there wasn't anything else on your mind, because you could speak now too if you'd like. Okay, so then we go to subcommittee reports. Finance Subcommittee.
We have not met.
Okay.
policy has not met, but we do need to schedule a meeting tonight after the meeting.
Okay. CES update?
Haven't had another meeting.
Haven't had another meeting. They're doing a great professional development program tomorrow over there. They continue to be a terrific resource in the Valley for educators.
You're
I
gonna
wish
be
I
the
could-
only report tonight.
Wish I could remember the title. So, Ryan, take your time. We're way ahead of schedule.
Sweet. Yeah, so as many of you know, we had the Mr. Easthampton talent show or contest, I don't even know what you want to call it. It was April 3rd. And it was
A
a
lot of
blast.
fun.
Yeah, it was a blast. All the proceeds went to the Students Against Destructive Decisions group, and they had refreshments at intermission that they sold that benefited that. They had buttons. They had all the contestants' names on it with the buttons that you could buy. They had water bottles. And it was about 3 hours long, and they had a talent portion, a superhero portion. They had a video that had we had a little questionnaire that we did before the show that they showed. And then there was a new portion. It was called Mr. Easthampton Challenge, and they had us do that. We put on a hula hoop, and we had to see how long we could go for. We did balance books on our heads.
Wait. Who won the hula hoop contest?
It was brutal. I'm not too sure. And we did a human pyramid, which was really interesting. We had 14 guys, so we had the biggest guys on the bottom, and then just all the way up, smaller guys at the top, and that was very interesting. My twin brother actually won first place. Manny Morales won second place. I won third place. Ben May won fourth place. And I believe, I'm trying to remember who won fifth place. I think it might have been Adam Burt or Joel Turcott. But it was really hard for the judges to decide. It was very, very funny, and everyone enjoyed it. So it was a great time. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about was on Thursday, a handful of kids from the World Language Club are going to Paris, Provence, Barcelona, and Costa Brava.
I want on that trip.
But you said no go, or you tried?
I tried.
You volunteered as you pay your own way and the
Yeah,
whole
Couldn't
bit? No?
speak any language,
Son wouldn't
that
let me
was my
go.
problem.
Jake said, I got you. Okay.
Maybe if you try to sneak in a suitcase. But
It's pretty full now, I don't think.
yeah. Yeah, so it's all the kids that are taking the upper level French and Spanish classes. And they get to enjoy, I know they're going to the Eiffel Tower. There's a few beaches that their hotel is situated right there, so they get to enjoy the beaches. They're going to a couple famous tourist attractions in Barcelona and Paris as well. So hopefully they'll have a great time. I know they will. Wish I was going, but not going this year, unfortunately. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just had one question. I don't know your brother. Are you fraternal or identical?
Identical.
So how do you really know
Very
that they gave the
much.
points to the right brother?
Well, I'm being nice, so whenever they mix us up, I'll just take the credit.
Okay. I was going to say, you can go around town and say, I'm the guy, right?
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
photos
I
with-
could.
Okay.
I have to say, Ryan, I love the part where your mom had come up onto the
Oh,
stage
yeah,
with
we-
the two
we,
of you. That was really
We
cute.
hadn't planned on that, but Miss Clavel suggested it, so then we just ran with the idea, and it worked out well. So
That was cute.
Terrific. Perfect. Thank you very much, Ryan.
thank you.
Other matters for discussion that are not already on there? Okay. So we'll move to the superintendent's report.
Yes, well, I'm happy this evening to introduce some folks from the Easthampton High School after-school enrichment and academic support programs, and I believe, is it more than just the high school? Ms. Roush?
I certainly could speak of Whitebrook Middle School too.
You could also just give a little information on that. That'd be great. So I'll turn it over to you, and you can call up the people.
I was gonna start.
Are you going to start?
Introducing everyone, yes.
All right, thanks.
So I'm
Ms.
Dina
Beauregard,
Garrido.
sorry.
Sorry.
Ms. Beauregard, our assistant principal at the high school, is going to start with the introductions. Thank you.
Good evening, thanks for having us. As you know, there are certain indicators that put students at risk for dropping out of high school, and one of the most significant is course failures. So we have a couple of programs at the high school that offer academic support to students, offer enrichment opportunities to students. One program connects them with the workforce. So it provides them also not only with staying on track for graduation, but it also helps them to connect to the school and to the community, which we know is important for students to be successful. So the first program is a partnership with the Hampshire Educational Collaborative. The Dropout Committee worked with Chris Taggart of HEC in 2009 and 2010 and wrote the 21st Century Grant. They already had the program at the middle school, but we didn't have it at the high school at that time. So last year was the first year of our JUMP program, and we're in the second year. And our coordinator for that program is Jerry Rauscher. So I'll have Jerry come up and speak about the program.
Students also came. So I'm Jerry Rauscher, and I'm the coordinator for the JUMP program, Easthampton High, and for Whitebrook's After Zone program. This is my first year at the high school, and I think number 4 at Whitebrook. And the high school has been a challenge. I walked in thinking that it was going to be as easy as it was at Whitebrook to engage students in after school. I learned very quickly that I was wrong. So although, looking at it, the numbers look wonderful. We have served about 100 kids have come through the JUMP program at Easthampton High. And now that we've got some momentum going, but now also that it's April, we really have a very core group of kids that have been coming. Some of the programs that we offer, right now we're working with the Alex Math program for credit recovery. So the collaborative is actually paying for that program, paying for the individual, Mr. Peely, who is a math teacher who is there monitoring the program. And then we are encouraging those kids to be involved in the rest of our program for the rest of the day that they're with us. We also offer all of the kids in the program transportation. If you see green cabs buzzing around Easthampton at after school time, those are our kids either from the middle school or from the high school being brought home. The other thing that we are working on is the AccuPlacer, which the collaborative is paying for that, and we've got students involved in that, and again, doing the same type of thing where we're drawing those kids in for credit recovery, and then getting them to stay and be involved in our program. A few of the other things that we have going on, we have a program with the Youth Action Coalition. It was called E-Town Rising. We had the program at Easthampton High 2 days a week, and we're having a very difficult time bringing kids into the program. So we thought about it, what we could do to kind of save it, and decided to take that program and move it to Whitebrook Middle School, where we not only have 8 middle schoolers involved, but the high schoolers are coming over to the program there. So we've got 6 high schoolers involved coming to the middle school for that program. I think what's happening is the kids really enjoy doing their internships at the middle school, working with the middle school kids, and we've been able to engage them in a program that they just didn't want to go to at the high school. So, I'm trying to really figure out why that is, but I think it's just to get away from the high school, and these guys might be able to talk a little bit more about that for you. So just to give you an idea of some of the programs that we've been offering over the course of the year, we've had a woodworking program with some of the people down in the Riverside building. There's a woodworking school that's there. We ran a program with them. We've got horseback riding, Zumba, gaming, the digital photography class. We've had cooking, Dungeons and Dragons, which I didn't know anything about, which I discovered is really math-based. Karen Allen, a teacher up at the high school, has been doing that, and that is actually one of our bigger programs. We've got kids who are just really faithful and really into it. We've got internships where the students are leaving the high school, coming to the middle school, working there with the middle schoolers, going out to horseback riding where they're working also with the elementary students, who we also have a 21st Century Grant going with them, so they're getting a chance to work with the elementary students out there. We've had a book club, and another huge program has been health and fitness. The kids like to go and do the weights and work with Miss Dunn over at the high school. Incorporated with all of this is obviously the academic piece, trying to get the kids to get their homework done and be responsible about their academics. And I'll just let them quickly say what they want to say, and then I've got a little bit to tell you about the middle school.
Hi,
Introduce yourself.
I'm Melanie. I'm from Easthampton High School, and I'm in 9th grade. I've been attending the jump program from September since it started all the way till today. I've been going, and it's really a good program. It helps me get my grades like situated, and it just, I don't know how to explain it.
You're doing great.
And I just really like it. It gives me something to do.
Can I tell them what a hard time you gave me when you first came?
Sure.
And I say this really lovingly because when Melanie first came, we weren't really sure, and we've talked about this, whether she was going to be able to work in the program. Because we'll say our personalities were kind of smashing together, and I was just having a hard time working with the middle schoolers. I can put her with the most difficult middle schooler now and know that homework's going to get done, that everything's going to be great. And we don't know what we do without you. You come and you do a great job. So she really good kid. Yep, for sure. Thank you, Melanie.
I'm Jay. I have been also going to the program. I'm in 9th grade. I like going because it gives me time to get my homework done, which has been a problem with me since I've been in school. Also, it gives me something to do, like Melanie said, and also I just like being able to work with the kids and talk to them and help them get their work done, and I don't know, give them something to do, let them have fun.
Good dear.
Sweet. I'm Darren Kim, and I'm a freshman at Easthampton High School, and I've been doing this program since September, and I think it's a good experience for me. I really enjoy working with the kids, and it gives me an opportunity to do my homework, get my grades up. That's all.
Thank you, guys.
Good.
You did a good job. Thank you.
Jerry, can
So-
I ask, so like with the three of them here, so how are they getting homework done, but they're working with the kids
They are
too?
sitting and doing their homework at the same time that the middle schoolers are doing their homework. We have an hour that's set aside at the middle school. So typically, if you walk in, you would see tables, and you would see, one of them sitting at a table with 3 or 4 middle schoolers with their books in front of them and the kids' books, and it's kind of, everybody's getting what needs to be done and helping them when they need help, or we've got the adults who would also jump in. It's just very conducive to, to get the stuff done. It's a time that's put aside. This is what we do. And
I was just going to ask, what is the time? How long?
Well,
when does it start, and how long does it?
the jump program goes from 2 until 4 or 4:30, depending on the program.
All right.
However, when these guys are any of the kids that come over to the middle school, they're actually there from 2 until 5.
Okay.
So they would stay an extra, hour, because the middle school program runs until 5 o'clock.
Okay.
So they're there for 3 hours with us.
Afternoon.
So, well, and just quickly, I'll tell you a little bit about the After Zone at Whitebrook, which has been, this is our 3rd year or 4th year. I'm embarrassed that I don't know off the top of my head. And we're averaging about 40 kids a day. And it's a little bit different at the middle school, as I said. I've got kind of a captive audience because a lot of middle schoolers, their parents want them there because there's nobody home. So the kids are there with an opportunity to get their homework done and to do an enrichment activity. The difference is there's a real emphasis put on homework for that time period, where that is what is expected of the kids between their homework and the reading that each child is given during their ELA class. We work really closely with the staff there as far as homework is concerned. We have a lot of kids in our program who are actually, it's written into their IEPs or their 504s that they need to come to after school to get that extra support. And so we have a lot of kids who otherwise would not get their homework done. They just would not. There's no one at home that can support them in their homework and help them do it. So we'll actually their homework usually will be taken away from them and then they're not taken away, after they're done, is put in teachers' boxes so that there's no room for error of it not getting back to the teacher the next day. A lot of communication between the different strands in our after zone program. We've done a couple of different things this year, which actually we've gone to site coordinators meetings, has been a big thing, is the homework center that we do at Whitebrook, because we have so much communication with teachers, because our kids are grouped into the same strands that they are during the day. It really enables us to support the homework piece. At the middle school, as I said, we go until 5 o'clock, and all of the kids are transported home. Well, a few of them get rides, but the majority of the kids are transported home afterwards, because there we would not have the kids coming if there's no transportation. And that is the biggest chunk of our budget, is really, which is sad, but it's used on transportation, which is necessary at the middle school, because we've tried it. You know, there's been times, I remember, where we've had chunks where we haven't had the transportation and the numbers drop down really, really low. Those kids need to get home. So we do the same type of a program. We have the homework piece, and then the kids go to their enrichment and are in their enrichment for an hour. Enrichments, we're doing a mural in the library. We've had there's a dance that they're going to do at the talent show that they've put together that they've been working on. We have open gym for the kids. Cooking is huge at the middle school, like unbelievably huge. So we usually have 2, sometimes 3 cooking classes running a week. We've got Legos, arts and crafts that we have going. You know, all different types of enrichments that we do to, you know, and that's the kids' release at the end of the day, is they're finally getting their chance after homework's done, everything's done, and then they get a chance to do their enrichments. And our numbers at the middle school really show that we are serving over 50% low-income kids, and over 50% of those kids, those same children obviously, are on free or reduced lunch. So we're really, really hitting our target as far as those kids. I think that's
And Jerry, these programs are grant funded.
These programs are grant funded.
21st Century grants. And
Yep.
do you know the timeline for the grants?
We have 2 more years on Whitebrook, because it was 5 years. Yes, we're on our 3rd year. So we've got 2 more years at Whitebrook. And then this is the second of 4 years, I believe, at the high school. And actually tomorrow we're having our DESE visit up at the high school, just to come
From the Department of
see
Education.
what we're doing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Great.
So.
That's wonderful.
they'll come and check us out.
Wonderful.
So, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry, and
Oh,
thank you,
yeah.
Melanie, and, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Jay and Gary.
Jerry, I just had one question.
Mhm.
I know that, thank you all for telling us your experience, but you are high schoolers that go to Whitebrook, right?
They come at the end of their day at the high school,
They go to the.
they come to Whitebrook to work as interns and help the
Right.
middle schoolers
So
there
what's
as part of the-
happening at the high school?
At the high school, there's different programs at the high school. The health and fitness is there, the Dungeons and Dragons, the
Okay,
Zumba.
all those groups are at the high school.
Yeah, well, and yes.
And how many students do you have at the high school?
It varies from day to day.
Okay.
It varies from day. The Zumba class, I think our last count was 15 kids there. Dungeons and Dragons consistently has 11 kids in that class. The digital photography, which has been moved to the middle school, it was at the high school with 1 student, is now at the middle school with 6 high school students in it now.
So if I understand, you get more response at the middle school consistently than you do at the high school.
At the middle school, as far as students attending the program?
Yes, yes.
We do, we do, and there's an obvious reason for that. I mean, at the middle school level, students need to be there. Students, parents don't have after-school daycare, and it's much easier to engage students and parents, as we all know,
Right.
unfortunately, at the middle school level. The high school, it is a challenge. It is definitely a challenge to engage. And we also, up at the high school, we have the Alex program going and the Accuplacer program that are
Right.
centered there.
And it is a newer program at the
Yes.
high school, so it hasn't had as much time.
It
to-
is. I
grow and
I said
develop.
that I feel like I wish, I had another 2 months, because it's taken a while to get our momentum going, and I'm feeling like we're just getting it really down pat. We're going to continue. We're going to have a summer program, but hopefully in September we can start as strong. But that's definitely the challenge. As I said, I walked in thinking it was going to be a lot easier than it was.
Well, that's an age group that has a lot
They,
of other
yeah.
options pulling at them.
Yeah, for sure. There's kids working, and that's huge. A lot of kids have not only jobs outside of their families, but we hear a lot of kids have to go home and babysit younger siblings, have to leave. They can come to the program, but then have to leave because they've got to get over to the elementary school to pick up a sibling.
Right.
So, you know, you're hearing a lot of that kind of stuff that's going on as well.
Well, you've got three good ones here.
We do. They're great.
right.
They're great.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
So while the JUMP program provides academic support and enrichment, the other program that our high school students have available to them also provides academic support, but also provides the opportunity for some internships in the community that are potential work-based learning sites. So that program is the Reunion Center After School program, and it's run by the Collaborative for Educational Services. It's funded through the 596 Work and Learning Grant, and we have a few people here tonight to speak about that program. Matt Rigney, Kate Frizel, who is the facilitator, and we have a student, John Taya, and I'm sorry, I forget, and John's internship, the man who John has his internship with. So I'll turn it over to them.
Hi, my name is Matt Lee. I've spoken before, a couple of you before. We've been running the Reunion Center over at 2 Pine Street for over 10 years at this point. Typically what we've offered is a lot of GRE, or GED rather, remedial classes. That funding got cut, and we ran most of the programming with a great teacher named Barbara Cheney, who eventually moved on to another position, especially as the funding did switch. The state has changed its emphasis, at least as far as our programming is concerned, to focus on high school kids who are either dropout, at risk of dropping out, or who are failing MCAS within a certain range. So our programs focus on providing a combination of experiences for them. Intensive math and English after school, and then paired with an internship where the work and learning component that's in the title of the grant is actually a connection between the English and math skills that they learn in the classroom and what they need to practice on site. That goes back to a theory that the Clinton administration came up with, where they said, we're having people get out of these schools who really don't know how to work. They don't have the work skills that go along with good math and English skills if they know how to apply those academic skills to the workplace. That was the whole impetus behind Clinton's school to work and school to career programming many years ago. I think 15 years ago at this point. That's where the funding came from and continues to come from. The state of Massachusetts has taken on that idea and really believes in it, and has continued to put their money behind school to work programming. And work and learning is just one way that it's part of a whole picture that supports that connection between academics and what students are expected to learn outside of class and be able to do outside of class. So the focus is on not losing that population of students who, when they drop out of high school, enter into what could be a 5 or 10-year cycle of trying to get back on track. That's a lost population, and when you look at the dropout statistics in terms of impacts of dropping out on life expectancy, total lifelong earnings, health, marriage, love, happiness, and children, it's all very negative. So this program targets a slightly older population than the middle school and early high school programs, and tries to secure those kids before they make the mistake of dropping out and getting into a much different scenario. We do have kids who have already made that decision, but our goal is to kind of catch them before they fall too far and swing them back in. And we've had really good successes with doing that. These programs we've been running we ran one about 4 years ago, did not get refunded, went back and resubmitted, and then I've been funded ever since then. And we actually started another sister satellite type program up in Turner's Falls. So it's the same model, with a little bit of tweaking so we can sort of try and experiment and see what's going to work better depending on the town. But it is actually expanding. So we're very proud of our Reunion Center program. It's kind of our flagship program, and has provided us with a lot of examples of what to do and what not to do. We've run summer programming under the 597 grant line item, which is the sort of the follow-on. There's 596 during the school year, 597 during the summer. We just got refunded for the summer again, so that makes 3 in a row that we've gotten, and I just feel the momentum building. I'll turn it over to so we can hear some stories from people who are actually not writing the grants and administering them like I do, but more on the ground floor, actually experiencing what these things are like. So Katie Frizel is the site teacher, and she's going to tell you more about what happens in the math and English portion, and then we'll talk a little bit about the internship sites.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kate Frizel, those of you who don't know me. I'm the lead teacher at the Reunion Center, facilitating the math and teaching the English portion, as well as an English teacher at the high school currently. I'll just tell you about the day-to-day basis, what we do every day. So the kids show up around 2:30. We provide a great emotional social support, so we usually spend about the first half an hour just kind of talking out our day. They then go into, they have signed up for either the math or the English portion, whatever it is that they need to recover their credits in. So at that point, they go on to their learning. We also help them with their homework and kind of hang out and just facilitate everything that's going on in their life, pretty much. They go to internships, depending upon the day. Some are there Mondays and Wednesdays, some are there only on Wednesdays. It depends on their particular situation. So we cater to the individual. I kind of like to call it my own little IEP for each student. So on Thursdays, everybody goes to their internship. We've created great relationships with community workplaces such as Full Tilt, which has been a great support to us. So the kids head on over there. I check in on them every other week. We try to stand back to let them learn on their own. As Mr. Rigney said, you know, we're really trying to facilitate that learning that happens in the workplace so that when they do leave us, whenever they choose to, and hopefully after they graduate, they know how to function in the workplace. This is my first time speaking in front of a school committee, so you have to excuse me, I'm a little nervous. Do you have any questions? I don't know what. Please. Help me out here.
Certainly. You're doing fine.
Oh, well, thank you.
How many students do you have in your program?
We have 15, but 9 of them come from the high school. So we have 6 recovering credits in math, 3 recovering credits in English, and then we have students from around the community. Over the summer, we have an influx of students from other towns. Right. During the school year, that tapers off. This is actually our first school year, at least that I've been around, that we're doing this every day after school. But we do have a large amount of kids that come and go. At least I know that at the center I'm constantly rewarding the kids and letting them know that they do come of their own accord and that we appreciate that they do that. So there are, on a good day we have 15, and on a bad day there's 11. So
if I'm a high school student,
yes,
and I'm in the junior year, let's say, at high school, can I just choose to come to your program?
You sure can. Yeah, if you fit the criteria.
There's not a list of requirements or something.
Well, there's a certain criteria that, as Mr. Rigney said, you know, they have to fall within a certain, they're either failing MCAS or have in the past, okay, or needs improvement, or are at risk for dropping out or have dropped out. We have a number of students who have already left the high school before graduation date, and they've come to our program and then moved on to Mount Tom Academy, or have come back to the high school, or have gotten their GED. I'm sorry, but there are students that do come to the program strictly for internship, so we place them within the community, and they are allowed 2 credits for that, and that's any student.
Who at the high school is helping to identify these students? In other words, who's helping me at the high school know that I might be interested in coming to your program?
Well, it's been really great actually working at the high school because I've been able to speak daily with guidance,
okay,
talk to individual teachers. They'll come up to me in the hallway, and I receive many emails every day, okay, you know, discussing different kids and their particular situations. So they're identified through guidance, right, or the adjustment counselor, or Miss Cannon is a great resource. Yeah. We work together all the time. And usually, I would say that our largest indicator is word of mouth. I mean, the kids talk about it all the time, and they suggest it to their friends.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Excellent. I
And
wished I could sign up.
It's really fun. Over the summer, we go on a big picnic and everything. It's great.
I like the emotional and social support.
Well, that's a huge
Do
thing
I
for
have to go to
teenagers,
the
though. It's
homework
critical,
section?
yeah. I mean, they need it, right?
We all do.
That's true. But that, I mean, it's nice to really get to know them in that small space. You know, we have a one-room school. It's pretty humble, but we love it. I mean, you know, we got some free furniture in there and a couple tables and snacks, and
All right.
it's really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'd like to another question.
That's right. I just want, really, I just want to comment. I'm so happy to hear that the connection to the high school finally is very solid. In the early years, we funded this from every grant source we could find, and there really was resistance in the school department to this program. And it's really come a long way. Barbara had a lot to do with it. You all have a lot to do with it. But I've always thought that this is a vital component for a really serious group of kids that can make it if we give them the opportunity.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for
Well,
keeping
sure.
it going, and I'm happy to hear that your funding sources solidified a little
Yeah,
bit.
good. They told us, they kind of gave us the nod, they're like, just keep applying, keep producing at least these numbers, and we'll keep giving it to you.
We had 3 students over the summer who had previously dropped out of Easthampton High at the end of last year who have now all completed at Mount Tom or are there. And then there's a large number that have gotten their GEDs and moved on. Yeah.
And Kate, did I hear
Yes.
you say that it's every day after school now?
Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, but they have, depending upon the individual, they are allotted a different day for work.
For the
But I
work
am at the
piece.
center, Mondays, Wednesday, Thursday.
Great, thank you.
Well, thank you.
And we're going to hear from,
Yes, I'd love to introduce John Taya. He is now a senior at Easthampton High, and he's come a long way in the last 2 years, so he has some things he'd like to tell you.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Taya, and I've been at the program for about 2 years now, and I like going to it every day. I was low on credits. Those are one of the reasons why I went to the program, and I also thought that I needed help with math work, English, or like just help with homework in general, and also to find a job, and I found an internship that I actually like doing now. So, yeah.
and can we just ask what it is that you like about going to the Reunion Center?
I like how we go there every day, and just looking forward to graduate this year. That's pretty much why.
It's been a good support for you to get to that graduation day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's great.
thank you.
What is your internship? What do you do?
Like just help out doing automotive, like auto body work and stuff and all that.
Why don't you give us a plug for your for Full Tilt?
I got the stuff on.
Johnny does everything. You know, when he first started, it was pretty difficult for someone that has never touched a car in their entire life, and then kind of just going right into it. And Johnny pretty much took off in it, and he's doing really good. He started just standing and watching us work for, I don't know, 3 months. Didn't touch a broom, didn't touch a tool, just watched how the shop worked, and Johnny's been a huge asset to Full Tilt. So, and thanks to her too, you know, getting him in and you know, bringing him to our attention and really like teaching him how to do stuff. And Johnny's done real great for the shop.
Johnny, do you mind if I mention a little bit about school and okay, so Johnny's a prime example of a student who has failed math multiple times, but then moves on to an internship that, I mean, and I think we can all agree that auto body is based largely in math, right? I mean, you're constantly adjusting angles, and I can't speak too much to that, I guess. but he's a prime example of how the program works, because at the beginning of last year, he was a sophomore, and maybe not even. So, and now he's getting ready to graduate in June. So he's worked really, really hard, and I don't want to say that it's only the program, because it's certainly not. It has everything to do with the individual, and he is a stellar student. But he put in that effort, and we made sure we were there. So these are kids that sometimes slip through the cracks, and we make sure that they don't. So every day that he shows up is another day that I smile. So, you know.
Katie, I may have missed it. Would you just introduce Johnny's intern
This is
coordinator?
Zach
Chiskini.
Chiskini from Full Tilt. He's the owner there.
Right, and I think it's valuable, as Mike has already pointed out, you know, the businesses that offer the internship opportunities,
We have a lot.
you know, give you a chance to translate for students something that looks purely academic into something that probably is more meaningful, you know, and a key part of success. So we thank, you know, Full Tilt for doing that, and appreciate the it sounds like a mutually beneficial relationship has evolved over time, and hope that that's a relationship that we can continue to sustain.
Yeah, thank God somebody can fix my car. But,
And just in case you want to know, they're on Ferry Street here in Easthampton.
They are. And actually, Zach and Full Tilt have offered to send Johnny to Lincoln Tech, should he get in. So, so I mean, it's really beneficial, and
That's
you know,
wonderful.
we're looking forward to seeing Johnny excel.
Is this the insignia for Full Tilt?
Yes.
It's on you? Very
It's their
impressive.
label.
And is there a website?
Yeah, it's getting built right now, so.
But it would be
It's in the works.
fulltiltautobody.com, is
Yeah.
that it?
Yeah.
WEEI in the morning, you'll pick up the ad cycle pretty regularly. It's a good pitch. I think that's a wise way
A
to.
lot of people don't know about insurance companies, so.
Yep, it's a wise way to present the product. This is terrific, Johnny. Congratulations on your
Nancy has.
your good effort, and okay,
Nancy has.
fine. Go ahead, Nancy.
Is it John or Johnny? I want to compliment you on your speaking ability tonight. I mean, you've heard Miss Katie say that she was a little nervous, but you were just so calm, and you presented your story so well, so I thank you for that very much.
A lot to be proud of here.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much.
Thank you.
For both groups.
We often mention at this point in the evening that there's not a lot else that would compel you to want to stay.
But you're welcome.
And we will not take any offense if you have other things to do for the remainder of the evening and need to step out. That's okay. And thanks very much for bringing both groups to our attention, and good luck
Well,
with
you can stay, if you really want
Thank
to.
you.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated.
I failed to mention early on, I'll go back to it now, that if anyone's ever interested in helping with internships here with Easthampton Public Access Cable, that's another place where young folks of different ages, anyone who's interested in helping to tape city government meetings, to call Greg. The number is 413-203-1360. 203-1360.
May I just say, Nancy, I really appreciate you doing all these different, like for every meeting, bringing a different group in, and all the presentations. So I really appreciate you doing that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I mean, I know it's hard for you all to get into the schools, so, you know, I want to try to bring that to you, to have you see all the really good things that are going on, and this certainly is an example of that.
Oh, that's huge, too.
Makes such a difference when you have representatives right here talking to you rather than reading about it.
Yeah. Glad you're enjoying it.
Terrific. I think we have a single matter for action, correct?
I think so. So I would move that the Easthampton School Committee vote to continue to participate in the school choice program as a school choice district.
Motion made and seconded for Easthampton to continue to participate as a school choice district. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, before we get to the final matters for action, the item that's next on the agenda is actually going to be far more brief than the time allotted. I'm just trying to find a pen that works, because my pen just quit on me, sorry. The override discussion that is evolving in the community requires a fair amount of due diligence particularly as the mayor has described to us before, and I think we're familiar with from past budget cycles, there's still some moving parts in this equation, and we're working very hard to continue to elicit comment from the public. We know from the last meeting that there's a vehicle set up, a survey that's still in operation, correct, for people to be able to express some of their ideas and to give feedback to the schools. We're continuing to work on the precise dollar amounts that are going to emerge at the end of this budgeting process. We have, as recently as yesterday, a very enthusiastic and industrious parent on behalf of a larger group of similar parents came and spoke with Superintendent Follansbee, and I attended the meeting as well, talking about their perspective on how the community can respond to the fiscal challenges that we face. So I think there's a lot of discussion that's going forward. At this point, beyond that, there's not a lot of detail. You do have now an updated addendum to your budget workbooks that will help inform our continuing discussions. That, in addition, will gain another column all the way over on the right-hand side, and as the numbers become clear, that will give us a nice 3-year sequence, 2-year sequence to look at both budgeted amounts, actual expenditures, the percentage increases, and where we think we're going to be for next year. I believe that we need to have another work session on this, but I'll entertain a question or a comment before we schedule that.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I would much prefer this to be your numbers and not what you're getting off of somebody's website.
This is the department.
This,
State
I understand. This is less useful to, I think, me, and I'm not sure about the counselors, than how the actual appropriation that an override would fund is spent. That includes items that you have absolutely no control of, that we have absolutely no control of, that overstates, I think, the spending. Although the spending is there, it's looking at this larger piece of spending that isn't an appropriation to the school department.
Right.
And so I think that the discussion should be focused on how the school department gets and uses funds.
Right.
And why, as I told you, Peter, I think in a conversation, and why $900,000 is needed to do the same thing next year as we've been doing this year. And that has to be very clear if that's the number that you're going to be asking for. And it has to be absolutely transparent, and that's why I suggest that you use numbers that are actually expended by the city through the city's coffers, as opposed to taking information off of a state website.
And that's one of the reasons we felt that we needed another budget workshop session, so that we could answer all of those questions, and so we could pin these numbers down, more clearly and more precisely, before we have this bigger discussion.
Right, and just to that question, Mike, and I very much appreciate the continuing tutorials on how this works, because I think it is extraordinarily challenging for me to be able to precisely respond to what I think is an important, it's a fair question, it's an essential question. Fortunately, I've had a lot of correspondence with Andy Paquette. He's not here this evening, but he will be at our budget work session, going through precisely what these dollar amounts mean, and how much of this is a percentage increase, how much is due to a change in the number of students, how much is due to changes in the cost of the personnel that provide the service. So trying to get at exactly what your question, and you're not the only one who's asking that question of the school committee, and I hope lots of people in the community are listening to the answers that we come up with, to be able to do that clearly and concisely. I think that the document that we're looking at today is a help in terms of providing a clearer framework of line items, how the actual numbers come out. Just for example, today in looking at this, and in a discussion that I had with the superintendent and with Mr. Paquette, was breaking down I'm not going to have here we go. So for example, looking at payments to out-of-school districts and how those are distributed among 4 possible, outflow locations, and how those are changing over time. So I think that the task that you're emphasizing is one that's we're trying to address that and trying to get it in a way that's clear and concise and can be communicated to these parents who are interested, to the city council that's interested, to the voters in the community as a whole. And I think it is important. I will also mention that the number piece gets tricky because somebody once said, this is not an original thought with me, that there are lies, damn lies, and statistics in descending order. That you can get numbers to tell any story that you'd like. I think that the whole community of Easthampton has an interest in what goes on in the schools, whether they graduated from Easthampton High School, whether they have children who have not yet entered the public school system, whether they're parents now, whether or not they don't have any familial connection. The school is an asset to the community. And so even there, when we look at the statistics of people who are involved, I think it's really important that we get those numbers right and clearly communicate them. So I hope that we'll address that general concern and be able to be of assistance to the parents who are coming to us are looking for guidance about where exactly is the shortfall potentially going to occur, and how do we precisely express that in a way that people would know exactly what questions face the city going forward. Sorry, I'm very tired, so I took longer to answer that question than I wished.
okay.
Does anyone have another question or further clarification about this before we just settle on a meeting date? Because we'd like to do this quickly. Budget stuff is moving
Well,
fast.
just to fill you up, or fill you in a little further, I was at a LGA, Local Government Advisory Committee today. The House should have their budget released tomorrow, probably later in the day. That really means that by Monday, we'll have a good firm idea of what the House numbers for the budget are. That's the number that'll likely be used to finalize the local budget and get it to the city council. So by midweek next week, the superintendent will know a number that I'm very confident in. She has a number now that I'm less confident in, partly because there's some revenue that the school earns that some Medicare reforms significantly reduced that. And so that had a pretty significant impact on the numbers that we were kind of tossing around. But you'll know, I think, what the proposed budget will be very soon. It'll be released to the city council as a published document, likely not in time for their meeting next week, but probably get into their boxes the week after, and so that number will become a public number by the end of the month. They'll actually receive the document for action at their first meeting in May. And I believe they've already begun to discuss meeting dates to have the conversation about that budget. And clearly that conversation is a different conversation than the one we're talking about now.
Right.
But it's the beginning of your conversation with 3 at least of the 9 people that are going to vote yes or no to put a ballot question forward.
Right.
I don't know what the conversation is now. What are we talking about?
In terms
Are we
of,
talking about an override? I thought that was on the agenda. Well, I don't know what the conversation is right this moment.
right, well, what's on the agenda is an override discussion for tonight.
Yes,
What we've-
so
what-
is that off the table?
Right, other than the general, well, anyone's welcome to comment on it that they'd like. The formal process of going forward with a detailed and potentially actionable discussion about it is contingent upon having a better set of numbers, as the mayor has pointed out.
Okay, all right.
So
Okay, so
what
we're
we're trying
not
to do-
talking about override now.
And we're talking about it only in the sense that we've come to an understanding that there's more specificity that needs to be communicated to school committee members before we can have that actual conversation.
Okay, all
Right.
right, that makes
And
a
that's
little
the
bit
purpose of
clearer.
having an additional budget workshop meeting, is so that we can look at what those numbers actually will be, based on a clearer sense of what the budget is that's coming to the mayor from the state. And then, so we'll have sort of a clear set of what our parameters are. Because part of the research that's been done, I can tell you this, is that I've spent some time also being tutored in the city clerk's office about exactly what the details are before you place a question before the voters, and what the sequence is. And there's very precise language. You really have to know things You might have a general reason for wanting to do it, but that doesn't get it put before the voters. There has to be very precise language in the construction of a ballot measure. And that requires more information than we have in order to formulate it now.
Right, but I think what I'm really asking is, there is some movement for an override? I know nothing about them.
Right.
I know nothing about a movement for an override.
Well, the development of that began when there's some indication of it at our last meeting.
Well, we indicated it, yeah.
Well, I heard from the parents who said that they would be willing to spend more.
We
and to
heard
pay
from
more.
one parent who said he'd be willing to spend more.
Okay, we can dance around the language
Yeah,
all we want. What I want to say to you is that also, for example, at a recent registration for the Little League baseball program, a group of parents handed out a document to ask people if they would like to participate in a grassroots effort. I was given a copy by somebody who was at that event. I wasn't there directly. But I did subsequently hear from one of the parents who's responsible for that document.
All right, I don't know anything about
Right.
it.
Well, a lot of this has come up, very, very recently. We met with one of the parents, as I said, just yesterday afternoon, and then I had talked with the mayor late last week and with the city clerk late last week. So much of what I'm sharing with you tonight, this is really the first conversation that any of us have had about this. So, again, I come back to the idea that I think what would be helpful, and I think would address exactly the question that you're asking, Nancy, is having this meeting scheduled following the information coming from the mayor's office.
I think we can have it at any point, because
Okay.
I think that there are going to be levels that we certainly can discuss.
Okay, so then let's look at, I'm sorry. Yep.
Would it be possible to get a copy of that letter?
Sure. I literally, as you can tell, folded like this, arrived on my desk at school today from a parent of a ball player who was at that event. So
I'd love to see it.
Yep, be happy to make copies of it. Forgot my computer tonight, so forgot to make copies of this, but I will make copies of this before we leave. Yes? And hand them out to everybody. But can we get calendars out and take a look right now about when? Because, we were even talking about the possibility that some of you, we hope, might be around during public school vacation week, although we know that that's a time when people do travel. So, Nancy, you and Andy are crucial to this conversation. What have you two thought of?
Andy is always here on Tuesdays, so we thought of Tuesday as a possibility, because he could stay and meet, that evening for a budget work session. So that would be Tuesday the 17th, but we don't know about your availability.
I'm available. I'm sorry, what time? In the
Probably we would do it at 6 o'clock,
6 o'clock.
like we normally do.
I'm available that night.
I'm away next week, but I don't mind if you meet without me, if I'm the only one.
She is going to France. She said she wasn't going to France. She's going to France.
So that's the 17th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tax day. Doesn't
7
that seem
o'clock would work.
appropriate to be looking at the budget on tax day?
7 o'clock, Deb is suggesting 7 o'clock. Does that work for the rest of the committee?
I'm gonna say yes. I came with
7
no ideas
o'clock.
either, but I think I'll say yes.
And we have
And Mike, that
time
works for you?
because we can get this posted tomorrow, and that's sufficient public notice, should anyone be interested in attending. Okay.
So, let's see here. We're gonna have a quorum.
Yes, we'll have a quorum,
Okay.
because we'll have 4, which is the
Plus
quorum
Mike-
number,
plus Mike, okay.
right? And Mike, 5, and possibly Bonnie. We'll have to check with her as to her availability. Okay?
And if I understand correctly, there will be different, what will we have at that budget meeting we don't have right now?
We'll have, for one thing, more specificity about all of these line items and the numbers that Mike was talking about that he wants. We'll also have more specificity about exactly what different levels of funding would mean, and try to give the whole picture And also think about how we're going to give it to parents and community members as well, so that it's clear and transparent.
So more specific than what you presented, you're telling me that?
Yeah.
Yes, we'll try to get.
Because I thought that was pretty.
Well, and we'll also get a chance to, this is often the case with me, and I know, Ryan, maybe you can testify to this as well. It's like after you take the test, you have a better sense of what you know and what you don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of how I
Yeah.
feel after trying to walk through and, for example, the mayor's question, very straightforward. Why does it cost X amount, whatever the number is, more next year
9,000.
than this year to provide level service? Which, again, since we're emphasizing this, I want to point out that level service for next year would still be below the service that we provided 2 years ago because we had to make reductions last year. So even level service, we need to be mindful of the direction that we're moving here and why people, I think, are inspired to address. But, I found that at first I was able to answer that question in a general way, but I certainly wasn't going to get a teacher at Easthampton High School to give me an A for my response to the question. I'm hoping that now I know the right questions to ask of Andy and of Nancy, or not the right questions, better questions. And it's also a chance to go through this most recent document and look at how that progression, because it's a different sort of trend analysis.
And we also have had some changes in expenses, due to utilities that have occurred since the last number. So, it's really just trying to be more specific about our needs and why they
And one of the things that comes up is just another illustration of what makes it so challenging for the mayor, so challenging for Nancy, and ultimately challenging for us in terms of making decisions is students moving in and out of the district whose educational plans involve significantly sort of outlying expenses.
Tuitions. High tuition.
That happens, at one point I'll learn 1 week that someone's moved in, and then I'll learn that someone's moved out. And what's the net effect in terms of the number? So even when we look at the numbers that are in our books, that, sort of projected their best estimate, every time we move along, the number's slightly different, and we're trying to narrow it down, and we hope as we move closer to the day when we finally approve the budget that the superintendent will put forward, once we're down to the final numbers, we'll know where all that money's going. So I'll make a copy of this tonight for anyone who wants it. I plan on trying to work my way through the email conversations that I've had with Mr. Paquette, and I will continue to talk with any parent who's interested in the question and bring all of that as clearly as I can to the meeting. Okay? We can even treat that, it's not correspondence to us, but it's correspondence about the schools.
I would like to request as much information ahead of time as possible so we can look at it and formulate our questions. Because it's kind of, I don't know, it's hard for me to look at it and listen at the same time and then also think about what questions I might have.
Yeah. And I know that the city clerk's office is also doing some historical analysis on the process for putting ballot measures out. It was sort of a history lesson that we were going through there and remembering which votes occurred in committee and which votes actually ended up before the voters. And that takes time. Today it was a busy office this afternoon when I stopped in. So I'll be back this week and I'll bring that information to folks electronically before the meeting if I get it. Otherwise, I'll bring it at the meeting. But you can, and I can also make photocopies for anyone who's interested in the tutorial sheet about referendum procedures. It's short, just have a few pages here that describe exactly what a Proposition 2.5 ballot question form looks like under the general laws.
We can make PDFs and send them out to everybody.
Okay. So I very much appreciate people's desire for more information. We're getting there. And I hope that we can get everybody enough so that they feel comfortable and confident about the decisions that we're making. Other questions or comments? Okay, so we have some matters for action.
Move to approve the minutes of the March 27th school committee meeting with the stipulation to hold executive session minutes until matters are resolved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes the 27th March 2012 school committee meeting with the, what she said, stipulation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Warrants and payroll.
Move to approve the school payroll dated April
That was
5th,
fun.
2012, in the amount of $478,241.78.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the school payroll dated 5 April 2012 in the amount of $478,241.78. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Move to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated April 5th, 2012, in the amount of $97,430.75.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the accounts payable authorization for the payment dated 5 April 2012 in the amount of $97,430.75. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any others? I think that's it. So we've got two sets of signatures, so another motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Please do stay long enough to apply sufficient signatures to these, and we'll also agree on a policy meeting time, policy subcommittee meeting.